Now, the last question is from a retired detective squad commander, NYPD, believing it's all connected to the Manorville dump jobs, and there is a New York City, Queens connection as well. Check for similar in the 100th precinct, which is Rockaway Beach, and you'll be surprised at what you find. Not only should the search have continued, but it shouldn't have just stopped at Nassau County.
Well, he's right on with that. We didn't stop at the Nassau County line. As I mentioned earlier, and to the audience and to you, Mike, we work very closely with NYPD.
Andre Isaac disappeared from Brooklyn in November 2002. His torso with a skirt and bodysuit was discovered that December in Far Rockaway, Queens.
Andre Jamal Isaac, known by his friends as Sugar Bear, was a gentle soul with a powerful presence. His nickname captured both his large frame and soft spirit, but his legacy is clouded in mystery, especially when it comes to his potential connection to the Long Island serial killer. Publicly, Suffolk County authorities insist there's no link between Isaac and the Gilgo Beach murders, but dig deeper and cracks begin to form in that official narrative. Privately, some believe there's more to the story. On May 29, 2020, filmmaker and Gilgo case investigative journalist Josh Zeman tweeted out a hidden page on the official Gilgo Beach investigation website. Though not accessible from the main navigation, the page was live, and it listed Andre Isaac in connection with the serial killings. Police later dismissed it as a test, but it wouldn't be the first time the Gilgo site leaks sensitive information. One notable incident involved the WHM belt, originally tagged with the name of Barnes, which clearly refers to Maureen Brainerd Barnes, one of the original Gilgo 4. So, if Andre Isaac was unrelated, why use his name at all? Especially when there were 11 other confirmed victims to reference. Was it a mistake or something more revealing?
Born on August 18, 1977, Andre Isaac was a natural performer. His love for ballroom dancing blossomed later into drag performance, where he was known throughout Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and even Washington, D.C. Sugar Bear lit up underground stages and ballroom runways. But despite his presence, little is known about Andre's day-to-day life. His disappearance received almost no media attention. His case really became more publicized when a possible connection to the Gilgo Beach bodies rose through the media. Mary Murphy, from Pix 11 News in particular, has been a driving force for the theory that Isaacs is a victim of the Long Island serial killer. In Murphy's investigation, she interviewed Isaac's mother, Kim Jordan, where Miss Jordan expressed that she always believed her son was connected to the case. It makes one wonder what she knows that the general public doesn't. In that same interview, she was elated that the FBI was looking into the case and drawing parallels to the Gilgo Beach murders. Isaac had been living in Brooklyn and, according to reports, was involved in sex work. Like many New Yorkers, he faced a staggering cost of living. To put it into perspective, the average rent for a Brooklyn studio today exceeds $3,600, nearly 3 times the national average. Add in food, transportation, and the hustle of performance life, the odds are stacked against young creative types looking to live in the city.
Andre Isaac was last seen just before Thanksgiving 2002. According to his mother, Miss Jordan, he left his Brooklyn apartment and got into a red BMW or possibly another sporty vehicle. The vehicle was driven by a Hispanic man. Miss Jordan, his mother, recounts the story his roommate told to police. Isaac left without any of his possessions. A pocketbook he normally carried left at home. This indicates he was comfortable and thought he was coming back soon. The Hispanic driver was described as a special friend, or in some reports as a quote-unquote secret friend. That was the last time anyone saw Andre alive. After that night, Andre vanished. No calls, no sightings, no bank activity. It was as if Sugar Bear had disappeared without a trace. Kimberly Jordan filed a missing persons report, but like many LGBT and especially black or gender nonconforming victims, Andre's case was met with silence. Early media reports were riddled with slurs and insensitivity, and while police acknowledged the case, there's little evidence of an active early investigation. On December 17, 2002, less than a month later, Andre Isaac's dismembered torso was discovered on Beach 63rd Street in Rockaway, Queens. The body was found in a plastic bag near the boardwalk between Larkin and the sand dunes. At the time, the area was underdeveloped, an eerie match to the conditions at Gilgo Beach: overgrown bramble, unpaved roads, isolation. The remains were biologically male, dressed in a skirt, tank top, and black bodysuit. No head, no arms, no legs. Now, for almost 2 months, there are no public updates, no news, just a torso. Then, 58 days later, 60 miles to the east, a family ice skating on the Forge River in Moriches, Long Island, discovered a severed head embedded in the frozen water. From the head, a sketch is made, which is used to request help from the public. DNA testing at the time linked the head found in Suffolk County with the torso found in Queens. With a face and the knowledge that the victim was either transgender or a crossdresser, the investigators were able to canvass select areas across the greater New York City area. One detective showed the sketch of a head to a group of transgender people in Manhattan, and one of them instantly recognized the face as Sugar Bear. This was the next big break in the case. A name to go with the face, something the killer went to great lengths and trouble to try to avoid. Finally, on April 10th, 2004, a landscaper who was working on a newly built home in Moriches haphazardly dug up the remaining parts of Sugar Bear. The home was less than a mile from the river that his skull was found in. The home sat next to a train, and it's clear that the killer assumed no one would build so close to the train tracks. Despite the brutality and the similarities to the other dismembered Gilgo victims, Andre Isaac was not added to the official victims list.
When they were excavating the land to do the driveway, they dug up his arms and legs. It's interesting that it's right next to the tracks and the electric wires. To the spots helps me understand like what he was looking for and like why he chose these areas, like more so that Sugar Bear is, because of all the similarities to the other locations, right?
Yeah.
It was on the water like that by, it was like Gilgo, that's the identifying part of him, right? The identifying parts of everybody else on Gilgo. Then you have the torso, where it was left kind of out in the open in a more populated area. And then you have his arms and legs here.
Oh, that's actually a really good point. The parts that you would use to make sure that you know who this is are in the spot that he knows no one's found.
Right.
Gilgo.
Right.
He wants you to know that there's a murder victim out there. He wants there to be known that there's a serial killer, right? Because he wants to be like the Zodiac or Jack the Ripper, who exists but never identified.
Right. And
So what is it? How does he do that?
He hides them. The head was in like a marshy pond area.
Yeah.
The arms and legs, which is the other, I think the hands were buried in this area.
Kind of eerie.
A little bit. This looks like I want to drive down a little bit.
This is so normal of an area.
But it looks so much. Imagine if these houses weren't here because they're new, right?
Yeah, like Calverton.
It looks so much like the Robert Cushman area, or what is it called? The
Robert Cushman, yeah. Otis Toole
it looks like
Pike
Otis Toole
Preserve.
Reserve.
Why do some believe Andre's death could be linked to LISK? Let's consider the facts. His body was dismembered, like Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack. The planning document released by the DA says remove head and hands and package for transport. Andre would have fell into the time frame this planning document was written by Rex. He was packaged and placed in a remote oceanfront location with highway access similar to Ocean Parkway. He was part of a marginalized group, a minority, queer, and reportedly involved in sex work. He disappeared in the early 2000s, a period that overlaps with the suspected LISK timeline. A document found on Rex Heuermann's hard drive, allegedly a planning file, suggests he had issues with the victim's size. Smaller is better, it states. Use a thicker rope around neck, rope broke under tension of being tightened, hinting at a failed encounter with the victim. This was possibly due to their size. Many assume this referred to Valerie Mack because the document was altered in 2002. Valerie was murdered in 2000, but Mack was only 5 feet tall and weighed around 100 pounds. She was small. If we place Andre in the timeline, the 2002 amendment could have been in reference to him. Andre Isaac stood 6'3" and weighed between 200 to 250 pounds. If the rope broke under tension due to Isaac's large frame, could this have led to the stark difference in cause of death? Then there's the matter of race and sexuality. Heuermann's search history tells a different story. Google searches for TS, or transgender porn, references to Black and Asian sex workers. The idea that race and gender, or even sexuality, was a disqualifier for him doesn't hold up under scrutiny.
What's often overlooked in cases like this is the land itself, the physical geography where these crimes unfold. The marshlands of Rockaway Beach, where Andre Isaac was found, are eerily similar to the Gilgo Beach area. Both are part of the same coastal ecosystem: dense brush, hidden paths, quiet stretches of shoreline interrupted only by thorns, reeds, and remote access roads. In the early 2000s, the section of Rockaway where Andre's torso was discovered was mostly underdeveloped, just like the bramble-choked marshes of the Gilgo and Cedar beaches. These are places where the wind covers screams, where headlights don't reach, and where secrets can stay buried by it for years. And while the counties may differ, Queens versus Suffolk, the physical distance between them is deceptively short, connected by highway, shoreline, and the kind of isolation a killer could count on. Today, the area is a very high-priced condo area. It's been gentrified, and we're going to insert some footage that my wife Leanne took while walking that area.
What was different about Andre's death versus the other victim's death?
I guess the bullet wound is where we should start.
Exactly.
Okay.
So why the big difference in cause of death? But if you think about Asian male or Asian Doe was not, as far as we know, his cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head.
Yep.
It's another male. Not your typical cause of death as all the other females. Andre, we think possibly because of his size, there could have been an issue with his interaction with Rex, right?
Yeah. I mean, he matches him almost in size and strength. You know, Andre Isaac is obviously a big guy, and I think he might have gave Rex a run for his money, which is why he believes smaller is better. He's going to have a harder time dominating, someone that size. And it
Right.
may
So
also end in why instead of strangulation or fixation, it's a gunshot wound to the head.
right, because I think maybe it got out of hand, and Rex realized he wasn't capable of doing what he wanted to do.
Yes.
Which is another reason why I think that his disposal was slightly different, right?
In which way?
Well, all of Rex's victims, the identifiable pieces, generally, of the dismembered bodies are on Gilgo Beach. The hands, the arms, the heads. With the exception of Peach's head, because that it's never been located. The identifiable pieces are on Gilgo. But why is then Andre's head found in a marsh out in Moriches? So why do you think that is?
I mean, at this point, we figure he knows Gilgo, and he knows Gilgo is pretty much safe because outside of Vergata's legs, nothing's ever really turned up there, right?
Right. So
All right.
Since 2007, he has been leaving victims on Ocean Parkway without being discovered.
And because of that, this is his safe spot, and he knows that. But it's also like something that he's probably proud of. It's like his trophy garden, like the profilers always say. So this is something that if he had a failed attempt and it didn't go the way he liked, would he put that, in his quote unquote trophy garden? He might not be proud of it. He also may be struggling with his sexuality at this point too. This is before Asian Doe timeline, so it's predominantly either a cross dresser or a male. It may be his first time with someone that's not female, and he's probably ashamed of that.
Besides the psychological background of like why we think he may have not put Andre's identifiable pieces on Gilgo, he could have gotten play. It was against his ritual. We have, the male when you have all females up to that point, because Agent Doe is not theoretically there yet. But what about his cause of death? Whoever killed Andre shot him in his temple. Could that possibly be tied back to Rex in some way? I mean, you have fingerprints on bullets. You have, ballistics that could be tied back if he used one of his guns. We know he had guns.
Correct.
So if he put, Andre's head with the other bodies on Gilgo, that would not only tie Andre to him, but it would tie all the other victims to him at once.
That's also the interesting thing with the gun as well. So we have Mary Murphy, and she's reporting that not only do we know that it's a handgun at this point, but it's in particular a Glock. So if you're not a gun person and that doesn't mean anything to you, basically it would be the equivalent of someone saying not that they were like using a sword, but like a brand name sword. Like if a brand name was Excalibur, like how would they know that it's that particular brand name is weird because different guns use the same type of ammo. So if it's a 9mm ammo or a 22, that wouldn't give you whether it's a Glock unless they found the handgun and were able to match it up with the ammo with ballistic testing.
Yeah, I mean, we know that they did recover the bullet from Andre's head, so we know they have the bullet.
Yeah. They had an x-ray that showed the bullet was in there and they extracted it during the autopsy.
And another reason he could have been placed in a different area, on his planning document, he has clearly stated misleaders. So if he's experimenting with misleaders at this time, when he wrote this planning document, which was 2000 to 2003, edited in 2002, and that's the time of Andre's death. If he edited in 2002 to have misleaders a part of it, then maybe it's just to mislead police. If, some of these bodies were found, a lot of the torsos, except for Karen Vergara's torso, when he dismembered the bodies, the torsos were found relatively quickly, within months.
Well, that's the interesting about Andre's torso as well. Whoever found it, or possibly the murderer themselves, were anxious, and this is something we've seen with other killers, called it in. So there was an anonymous call in to NYPD that said that you will find the body over on Beach 63rd. Dennis Rader did this. Zodiac did this. There's the Bitroff murders that also had this. This is something they say with serial killers. They get so frenzied and they can't wait and they'll call it in.
Yeah, I mean, and we obviously know Rex liked to call, and maybe he wasn't getting much attention, and Andre's body wasn't being found as quickly as he wanted to be.
Yeah. Now, there's also this thing that you have with the Gilgo Beach website where they put it on, right? So it's like, why would they put that on there? Maybe there's also this on the flip side, is that they also struggle with, did he do it? Did he not do it? Did he do it? Did he not do it? Because doesn't fit the very typical pattern because he's bigger, a different location, even though it seems to fit with the Route 27 would have been the route he would have taken to go north up to where Valerie Mack and Taylor are dropped and the gun ranges. But
I mean, it's basically in a line. It is a direct line from where Valerie Mack was found. You hit Jessica Taylor, you hit Andre Isaacs. Straight line.
You could make a line straight south from where he would have got off on Route 27. But what would be some reasons that they could possibly think that maybe he didn't do it?
I mean, obviously different cause of death, different victim pattern, we don't know about the MO because Andre was dismembered just like the other victims, so.
So I struggle
Also,
with this too because you have Lieutenant Fitzpatrick, Detective Fitzpatrick, back in that time frame, saying that Peaches and Mac and Taylor and these Manorville males—they're all not connected.
they specifically said Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack were not connected. He specifically said that in a news article that
And
those two,
Peaches,
yeah, but those two victims we know are connected. You
we
know,
do
he's
know
been
for a
indicted.
fact.
Yeah, he's been indicted for those two victims. And those two victims, way back when, prior to them finding the Gilgo Beach bodies, when they were talking about Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor, they said that there were stark differences and that they weren't connected.
Yeah. He said, despite, and I think it was a quote unquote type thing, despite it being a decapitation and them being dropped in a geographically very similar and very close proximity, that was where the similarities ended. And we know that to not be the truth now. And
I
since
mean,
no one has seen the full case file for Andre Isaacs, it really begs the question, what's there? Andre Isaac, also known as Sugar Bear, wasn't just a name on a list. He was a son, a performer, a member of a community that society too often ignores. Whether or not he was a victim of the Long Island serial killer, he deserves answers. He deserves justice. He deserves to be remembered. Because every time we overlook the outliers, we risk letting real patterns slip through the cracks, unseen, unacknowledged, and unsolved. If you believe Andre Isaac's story deserves justice, don't let it disappear. Share it. Speak his name. The truth may still be out there, and justice can be had. Thanks for watching.